Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for this event commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Taiwan Relations Act, talking about its significance both in the past, the last 30 years, and of course looking forward as well. The Project 2049 Institute is very pleased to co-host this event with Senator Inhofe, who is, of course, the co-chair of the Taiwan caucus in the Senate. We hope Senator Inhofe will be here at some point to make some brief remarks. His schedule is, of course, very demanding, but I do anticipate he'll be by at some point to greet you himself and to make some remarks. The Project 2049 Institute is a nonprofit, nonpartisan research organization dedicated to research oriented towards the Asia-Pacific and security issues, very much to include issues associated with the Taiwan Strait. And so we do events such as this, we do publications, and we do specially tailored research products. But this is a very important event for us because I think our roots, both our executive director, Mark Stokes, and myself, have done a lot of work on Taiwan issues, and we take personal interest and pride in our work on Taiwan. So this is an important event for us, and we look forward to sharing some thoughts with you from, I think, some excellent panelists and some excellent speakers today. We are joined today by some of our very generous sponsors. We're not able to do these kind of events and put out the publications we put out without the support of our sponsors. These are listed in the program and are there for your reference. But again, thank you for the generous support from our friends, including many in the Taiwanese American community and many other friends in Taiwan. We've divided the day into basically two segments, one that is primarily retrospective, looking back at the 30-year history of the Taiwan Relations Act, and the second panel that'll be more forward-looking. I was reminded about the complicated history of the TRA as we've been doing preparations for this event. And one of the complicating factors is for friends in Taiwan, although we celebrate it here and we recognize it as a great achievement and something that's fostered a lot of very constructive work. For friends in Taiwan, it doesn't necessarily bring up the most pleasant memories, of course, because it's associated with a break in diplomatic relations and at a time that was very difficult for the U.S. and Taiwan. But I think what our panelists will hopefully convey is that despite that starting point, through the good work of members of Congress, through the good work of people who served in the administration at the time and assisted with the drafting of this legislation, we did achieve a vehicle that allowed us as two countries to do very impressive work, cooperative work, and really fostered the quality relationship that we have today. All the issues and challenges notwithstanding, but I think it is an anniversary worth commemorating, worth reflecting upon, and worth discussing how it will continue to serve our mutual interests. So our first panel today, as I mentioned, will be primarily retrospective, and I'm delighted to introduce our speakers. I'll just give brief introductions for all three right now. Up front. You have bios, so no need to give extensive introductions, but to my immediate left is Peter Brooks, who's with the Heritage Foundation, and I think wears other hats as well, writes a regular column for New York Daily News? New York Post. As I said, you have the bios in your folders. Peter is an excellent person to assist us with this panel. He's been involved intimately with the Taiwan Relations Act from a variety of perspectives. He worked on Capitol Hill on the House International Relations Committee, and in the later part of the 90s was involved in an effort to look again at the TRA and give consideration to whether improvements and enhancements were needed, and that ultimately resulted in an effort in both the House and the Senate to look at a Taiwan Security Enhancement Act. Of course, he also served in the U.S. administration as a Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Asia Pacific and was on the implementing side of the TRA as a senior official at DOD. We're also joined by Shirley Kahn, who is a senior researcher at the Congressional Research Service. Shirley has done, I think, probably the best work I've seen among think tanks and scholars and research organizations documenting a lot of the implementation efforts associated with the TRA, to include the history of the arms sales program. She's done CRS products that detail year by year the annual security assistance and how administrations and Congresses together have interpreted the TRA, and she's documented that as an excellent resource for members of Congress and staff. So we're delighted to have Shirley. And then Joseph Wu, who has resumed his career as a scholar, but recently served in Washington as a representative for Taiwan. Joseph, of course, having worked in government, also has a perspective on what the TRA meant for the U.S.-Taiwan relationship, and I would say as a resident and scholar in Taiwan, probably has perspectives on what it meant inside Taiwan through the course of its 30-year history. So thank you to all our panelists for joining us, and I will immediately turn the floor over to Peter Brooks.